Hello, everyone. I wanted to take the time to thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us here today. My name is Jenna Holifield. I am a certified dementia practitioner and also a care navigator here at Tembo Health. And with me today, I also have Mary Ellen. She is also a care navigator with Tembo, and she is just here for support to chime in when need be, and also if there are any technical issues, she'll be my backup. So today we will be covering the topic of adjusting the holidays to meet your loved one with dementia's needs, supporting joy, comfort, and connection. So before we get started, I did want to say that right now all the attendees are on mute, but there is a chat and a Q&A little section available to you that you should be able to access. And so as I'm going through my presentation, please feel free to drop any questions you have in the chat, and I will get to them at the end of the presentation. Or also I recommend for you to drop any suggestions that you have. So I'll be talking about like different strategies of how to handle, the holidays with someone with dementia, or gift ideas, things like that. And it can be really helpful to see what other people have done. Maybe you have an idea of, oh, I did this one time and it worked really well. So I love hearing other perspectives and other people's ideas. So if you just have a nice idea, please drop that in the chat as well, and we'll share it all at the end. Okay. And also, if you have any difficulties with hearing me or need me to repeat myself, or for some reason not seeing my PowerPoint, put that in the chat as well. Okay. So the holidays, we often think of as time of joy and happiness and getting together with your families and your loved ones. That's the whole reason for the season. It's the time that we all look forward to every year. But if you are a caregiver for someone with dementia, that can bring a lot of uncertainties and questions of, how do you navigate this, and what if this is stressful for my loved one? So holidays bring changes in routine. There's increased sensory input. There's larger gatherings. All these things that can be triggering for someone with dementia. When you have dementia, your world can tend to get a little bit smaller. You're not able to do the things you were able to do before. And it's important to take that into consideration. Understanding these challenges that they have helps us better plan celebrations that feel safe for them and that they can enjoy as well. So some of the main challenges I would say during holidays, something like the environment. So, if you're going to a big family gathering, the noise levels, there are probably a lot of people there, a lot of different conversations, not one place where you can put your attention, just a lot going on. Maybe there's TVs going on, or music playing, or kids screaming in the background. The noise alone can just be really overwhelming. Again, like I said, large crowds of people. Your loved one with dementia is probably used to spending most of their days alone or with just a few people. And so going from that every day to a big group setting just can be really anxiety inducing. In terms of environment as well, if you're taking them out to a family member's place, even if that's a place they've been to before, they might not remember that. And so being in unfamiliar places can just cause a lot of anxiety and confusion for them. Disruptions in routines. People with dementia, as you know, thrive off of routine and having, the same day to day and kind of knowing what to expect. And so if you have a sudden change in that routine by, going to an all-day family gathering or traveling somewhere or just something out of the ordinary, that can again cause a lot of anxiety, excess confusion, and stress. It can lead to, repeat questions and things like that. Something else to consider is fatigue and sundowning. So, most of the times people with dementia are cognitively their best during the morning and, midday, earlier in the day, as opposed to in the evening. So thinking about what time of day does your family celebrate? I know for me personally, my family celebrates Christmas Eve, and we don't get started until like 6 o'clock at night, but that might no longer be realistic for your loved one with dementia. That might be stressful for them, and they might start exhibiting behaviors of sundowning. Also considering, will the event be all day? Sometimes families get together from lunch all the way to supper. Is that something that your loved one can handle? Is that too much kind of all at once? So these are some things to kind of consider that you might not think about because it's been a tradition that you've done, throughout your whole life. And sometimes you have to stop and realize how that might affect someone with dementia. So since there are these challenges that we face, let's think about reframing holiday traditions and how can we bring them a piece of the holiday that is still familiar for them. So just a reminder that keeping traditions doesn't require keeping the complexity of them. So making sure that you're focusing on what's familiar and what's comforting to your loved one. So I think some questions to ask when it comes to, should I change up our routine for the holidays? Maybe ask, does your loved one typically respond to changes in routine? So, in the past, if you have taken them out to a doctor's appointment that was out of their routine, and then when they come back in the evening, they are really anxious and stressed and confused, and that effect might stay with them for the next several days. If they respond to changes in routine like that, where it stresses them out after the fact for that night or even for the few days after, is, should we modify our traditions then? And then also looking for signs that they're uncomfortable with family gatherings or changes, in events. So if they're sitting there and they're rubbing their thighs back and forth, or wringing their hands, or looking around a lot, or maybe they're a lot more withdrawn than usual or more quiet. Just looking for those signs that they're uncomfortable. And if you've noticed that in years past or in other, events, maybe again, it's time to consider, how can we change this to make them a little bit more comfortable? Because I know that traditions and holiday traditions are important for families, but you can still find connection and meaning, even if you change things up or in the little moments. Like I was saying, it's okay to change how celebrations look. If your typical gathering isn't likely to be a positive experience for them, after you've asked yourself those questions, how do they handle change? Are they usually uncomfortable with things like this? Then you can always bring a different version of the holiday to them, and it can be just as special for them and you as well. So some different things to consider: having small dinners instead of large parties. So, like I said, some families celebrate all day for Christmas or the holidays. So instead, maybe considering either the day of or the day before the holiday, just having a small, intimate gathering with maybe just your immediate family and just having a short dinner. It can just be an hour, because sometimes if family stays for too long and the event goes on for too long, that can be overwhelming for someone with dementia. So, just having a nice hour where you sit down and enjoy a meal together. Instead of visiting multiple homes, having relatives drop by one at a time. So I know, especially with bigger families, sometimes you might have 3 or 4 celebrations, at different people's houses and family members and whatnot. So considering, instead of taking your loved one out for all of those, having the relatives drop by one at a time, so that way they can still see all their family and friends, but not have to have such a change in their routine and all the different changes going on. So instead of a dinner, trying a breakfast or a lunch. This again is kind of playing off the idea of working off whatever time of day that they're cognitively at their best. So if they're best, first thing in the morning, maybe inviting the family over to cook breakfast with each other and enjoy breakfast together. So maybe, reframing the time period that you have that in. Ensuring that they have a calm, safe environment where they can go to if need be. So if you do decide to take your loved one to a family gathering, especially if it is in a new place, I would definitely recommend having something like a quiet room where they can go. So again, look for signs of overstimulation or agitation. Maybe they're pacing or wringing their hands or a little withdrawn. Monitor them for that. And if they start to show signs of that, you can bring them to this safe room where the lights are dimmed, maybe have some soft, quiet music playing or just total silence. Just something to where they can just calm down and regulate and is not as overstimulating. So that can be something you designate if you go to someone else's house or, if you have family visit at their house. So just being mindful, watching your loved one and seeing how they're responding and offering them the opportunity to go to that room if they need to. Frequent bathroom breaks as well as a change of clothes. If you're going out somewhere, even if your loved one is not currently incontinent, being in a new environment with all the excitement going on, they might not remember that they need to go to the bathroom until it's too late, or they might, be embarrassed to ask where the bathroom is and not know. So you just never know what might happen. So I always encourage to bring a change of clothes because you wouldn't want an incontinence episode like that to ruin the day or the celebration. So just a change of clothes for backup. And then also frequently going up to them and bringing them to the bathroom as well. One creative thing I think is having everyone wear name tags. I think this is a really cheap, easy way to kind of take the pressure off of your loved one having to try and figure out who all is in the room and who all is there. So, when people come in, just give them a name tag that they can wear clearly on the front of their shirt all day. That way, again, it just kind of takes away that burden of your loved one having to think of what everybody's name is. Another thing that I think is great is writing down where they are and why they're there on an index card or something that they can keep with them. So like I said, with the change in their routine, that can lead to a lot of excess stress and confusion. And oftentimes when they're stressed and confused, that can lead to repeat questions because they can't retain this information that you've told them of where they're at or why they're there. And so I think that writing something down that says, like I said, where they are and why they're there could be helpful for them to reference. Making sure it's just short, simplistic sentences, clearly able to read. So saying something maybe in first person, I am at my granddaughter's Jenna's house and we are eating Christmas lunch. We will go home soon. Just something short and sweet to kind of bring them some calm and let them know where they're at, and maybe help relieve you of any potential repetitive questions. So I know that some of you might be traveling with your loved ones, traveling long distances with your loved ones, and that can be a challenge. I think discussing whether travel is appropriate first, kind of some of the questions that we had asked before. Do they handle changes in their routine well? If they are in overstimulating environments, how do they handle that? The place that we're going, will I be able to meet all of their care needs while I'm there? Can they get around safely? Just all these questions that are important to ask to see if your loved one is able to travel. And if you think that they are, making sure that you structure the day carefully and bring familiar items and allow plenty of time. So if you are traveling, again, making sure to travel during the time of day that is best for them cognitively. Planning for frequent stops and rest points. So if it's a drive, a 7-hour drive, maybe breaking that up into a few days of just 2 hours, just something more manageable that they can handle. But planning for frequent stops and rest points every half hour to an hour for bathroom breaks or to stretch or just to kind of reset and get some fresh air. I think it's a great idea to create like a comfort kit. So something like noise canceling headphones, cozy blankets that they can have, something to fidget with, or some sensory items that might calm them down. And again, also maybe a card saying where you're going, when you'll get there, all that good stuff. And kind of going off of that, printing out a schedule that they can reference that might be helpful for if you're going to be gone for several days. And again, they have those repeat questions of, well, where are we going? When are we going to get there? How long are we going to be there? What are we going to do? Maybe printing out a very simplistic schedule that says the destination and what you'll be doing from day to day that they can reference and get some comfort from. Of course, preparing medical and travel documentation. If they are on a lot of medications, making sure you bring more than enough. Even if you're planning for, like, a day trip, and so you think, I don't need to bring my night meds, but something might happen, might get stuck in traffic, things like that. So I always recommend bringing maybe a little more medication than you think, just that way all your bases will be covered if anything were to happen. I also always recommend for travel getting a medical ID bracelet, which is something they can wear around their wrist that has their name and date of birth and where they're from and who to contact. And you can also scan a QR code on there, and it says like their diagnoses and any relevant medical information about them. So I think that would be great for if you're traveling. Again, bringing a change of clothes and incontinence products, and having a backup plan as well, because it might not go how you plan for it. So having a plan B and a plan C is important as well. And of course, just staying flexible. So with holidays and family and friends coming in from maybe out of town, or people that you haven't seen all year, they might not be as familiar with someone with dementia as you are. You see this day to day, and you know how to talk to your loved one, what bothers them and what works for them. And for some people that just don't experience that day to day, they just are unsure of how to talk to someone with dementia or how to connect with them. And so that can lead to them maybe avoiding them a little bit, or not visiting with them as much as they would like, just because they are unsure of how to communicate with them. So I think it's really important to reach out to family beforehand, explain to them what to expect and how best to communicate. So what are some questions and topics that are triggers for your loved one to avoid? What are some topics that they do like talking about and that you can sit and talk about for a while? If there's any challenging behaviors that your loved one has been showing, debriefing them on that and letting them know and what to do in those situations. So some ideas are, like I said, have a quick phone call with your friends or family before they come, or even sending out like a generalized email to everyone, including all these things. I included something called Be Light Dementia Care on here. Be Light Care. She makes dementia educational videos. She is on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all the platforms under Be Light Care. Her name is Adria Thompson. She's a speech language pathologist. And I put her here because she makes a lot of wonderful videos that are really digestible. They're usually like 30 seconds to a minute long, that talk about individual topics of what can you talk about with someone with dementia, or how can you approach them, or what are some ways that you can engage with them. And so I just think that that's a great resource. I definitely recommend all of you looking her up and maybe scrolling through her videos and seeing if there are any that could be helpful for you and for you to send to your loved ones as well, to kind of prepare them for that. And then, of course, another reminder to stay patient and be flexible. Let them know that it's okay doing something differently than expected, and to just kind of go with the flow when they're with your loved one with dementia. The goal is comfort and connection, not perfection. So some more communication tips for friends and family. Like I said, it can be challenging, but small adjustments, tone, pace, and validation can make a really huge difference in comfort and connection. So using the positive physical approach, where you approach them calmly and slowly from the front, have positive and welcoming body language, smiling, and then getting down on their level so they can really see you and make eye contact with you. Using shorter sentences and giving them time to process what you're saying as well and time to respond. If your loved one is at a point to where maybe when they talk, they don't make much sense, or they can't, put together full sentences, or it's kind of like a word salad when they talk, telling your family that it's really important to just kind of validate the feelings that they're getting from that communication, because they can still, read your body language and understand your tone of voice. So really emphasizing that it's important to validate their feelings and go along with that as well. Avoid correcting or arguing, making sure that they're meeting them where they are. So if your loved one with dementia is telling a holiday tradition wrong, or just making up a story, and your family and friends don't know how to react, just letting them know to not correct or argue with them, but again, to validate the feelings behind that story. And then maybe kind of bounce off of whatever story she's saying with coming up with their own memories of that they have with them. Definitely always introducing yourself with your name and how you're related. So making sure that family knows not to go up to your loved one with dementia and say, hey, you remember me, don't you? No one wants to be put on the spot like that. So again, if they have the name tag, that's great, but always introducing yourself, saying, hey, it's Jenna, your granddaughter. I'm so glad to see you. Every time you approach that person with dementia, even if you've spoke with them that day, every time you go up to them, introducing yourself, just again to take off that pressure from them and help kind of reorient them. Letting them know that open-ended questions may be too overwhelming. So instead, try questions with 50-50 answers or yes or no questions. So if a family member asks, what is your favorite holiday tradition? Your loved one with dementia might not be able to think of something on the spot that they remember, but instead, if your family member asks, well, was your favorite holiday tradition decorating the tree or cooking and baking cookies for your grandchildren? Then they can answer, oh, which one do you like? Or get yes or no questions. When reminiscing, trying phrasings like, I remember when, instead of, do you remember when? That can kind of go back to putting them on the spot when you say, do you remember this thing we used to do? So instead, framing it like, oh, I remember when I was little, you would always help us make cookies in the kitchen together. So framing it kind of as something that I remember, so that way your loved one can still participate in that memory and that reminiscing without that pressure. I think it's a great idea to have something like a little box prepared for any friends and family that come to visit, with things like reminiscing items, conversation starters, because again, sometimes people don't know what questions to ask or how to start that conversation. So maybe some easy questions. There are lots that you can buy online, but there are also like free question prompts as well that you can print off online if you Google it. So just a little box of things that family members can use that they can easily connect with their loved one. And I saw this idea the other day, consider assigning a family member to your loved one. So the idea of this is that if you're at a big family gathering, sometimes your loved one with dementia might not be able to participate in like a big group conversation, or there's just so much happening that they don't know where to jump in and might feel a little isolated. So if you talk with your family beforehand and assign, okay, you're going to spend 30 minutes to an hour with grandma. And during that time, you are going to be with her one-on-one, sit next to her, do an activity with her, sing some songs with her, go on a walk, get something to eat, or even just sitting in the room and people watching and having conversations about the other people, what you see in the room. So I think that is a great idea to kind of help your loved one still feel included, and then also give them time individually with all the family members that are there. Okay, kids and grandkids. So that's another big part of holiday traditions is, everyone is coming into town. They all have their families that are growing and their young kids. And sometimes kids are a little confused by dementia and how that affects, their family member. So I think that simple explanations can help them feel prepared and confident. So again, sitting down with them and explaining the situation and encouraging questions and allowing space for whatever feelings they might have from that. I think kids can still bond with loved ones through simple and familiar activities. It builds positive memories and helps maintain connection. I think, usually kids make people with dementia light up. It's just something about, those intergenerational relationships that are so, so special. And so I think it is so important to, encourage the kids to visit with your loved one with dementia. Some activities that they can do together, sharing old photos, simple crafts, simple decorating, whether it be putting decorations on the tree or just sorting things, singing familiar songs. Music is always a great way to connect, and Christmas songs everyone knows from young and old, so that's a great way to connect as well. Also, a simple physical game. So, a game of catch while, they're sitting down on the couch, or like cornhole, or just small little physical games like that that can be fun for your loved one to participate in, and entertaining as well. It's great to watch the kids run around and have fun. Another consideration, though, to keep in mind is that, of course, while you're loved one with dementia probably loves visiting with the kids and grandkids, they can also be overwhelming sometimes. Kids can be a little loud and rambunctious. So just being mindful of that. If you notice that they're getting really loud, or, maybe just your loved one with dementia is getting a little overwhelmed by them, consider having a separate place for the kids to play. Maybe they can go play in the basement or run around outside, or again, take your loved one to that safe room that you had scoped out beforehand. So just something to be mindful of. Meaningful connection doesn't require complex conversations. Music, photos, and simple activities often spark positive interactions. So focusing on comfort, being flexible and adapting traditions to meet them where they are, and adjusting expectations, and cherish the simple moments. Small moments of connection matter the most. I think that's a great reminder of the season, of focusing on comfort and adapting for the small moments of connection, even if it's not what you have exactly been used to. So this last little section is several ideas, like gift ideas for your loved one with dementia, because sometimes that can be difficult, thinking of things that they would actually enjoy or use. With gifts, you always want to avoid things that would be a little too difficult for them, or things that might provide excess stress for them. So it can be kind of hard to decide what works for them or what they would enjoy. So these are several pictures. I'll go through all of them and kind of talk about them. So on the top left here, this is a Skylight digital photo frame. There are several different brands out there, but really any digital photo frame that you can place in the living room or in their bedroom, where they can easily see it, and just has those continuous pictures of family and friends and whatever it may be. I think those are wonderful. The Skylight in particular, you can download an app and share it with all of your family and friends, and then they can upload pictures wherever and whenever. So that's why I like the Skylight. They can upload new pictures when they get them. Next to it is a blanket with customized pictures. So I think anything that you can put visuals or pictures on is wonderful. So whether it be like a cozy blanket, or a coffee mug, or a calendar, or anything that can have that visual aid, is something that they can look at. This next one is a picture of a coffee book, like a coffee table book. So your loved one with dementia might not be interested in reading or be able to read full-length books or newspapers or magazines, but they can still, use books that are picture heavy. maybe short, simple sentences. So that's why I always say coffee books, because usually those have our majority pictures and just have, a few little blurbs here and there. But there's all sorts of varieties that you can get for that, like if they have traveled to a specific place that they love to talk about, maybe get a book of like Paris if they went to Paris and loved it. If there's like a particular hobby throughout their life or their career that they had, you can get coffee table books based off of all sorts of different things. So right next to it is the symbol for Shadowbox Press, which is a company that has a lot of resources that are similar to like the coffee table books. They have all dementia friendly things and activities. So they have like conversation starters. They have like through the season books, reminiscing books. They have books dedicated to certain subjects like dogs or babies or all sorts of different things. And so I definitely recommend you check out that website to maybe get some ideas. Next to it is a little fidget blanket that is great for really any stage of the disease, but especially for people in the later stages. They can, have all the different textures and all the different things on there to keep their hands busy and have that sensory input. And you can find these all online. And if you're crafty, you can even probably sew one yourself. For the ladies that are always chilly, something like a shawl or a nice scarf or a warm fuzzy blanket. Same for like the fingerless gloves down here. You can never go wrong with something soft and cozy. For the ladies that love jewelry, as they get older with the dementia, they might not be able to work the fine clasps that are on jewelry. So getting jewelry that is easy for them to put on. So something like a long necklace like this that they can just put over their head, or rings, or like loose bracelets and things that they can just slip on. Something similar to that. This is a picture of a wooden lockbox. That is, again, another kind of like sensory activity where they can figure out how to lock and unlock. If your loved one does still enjoy reading, Chicken Soup for the Soul is a great book series. They have, I don't even know how many books, hundreds of different books, and they're all really heartwarming, inspiring stories that are really short, so easy to read and digestible. Another suggestion for like books or coffee table books is something like The Year You Were Born. So again, if you Google, you can find all sorts of different companies that will make books about the year you were born or the year you graduated. And it'll have, the top songs of the year, who was president, what happened in the world, all sorts of different things. And that can be great to reminisce on. And then this again is another example of like a coffee table book of just some cute babies or some cute dogs, things that they might enjoy looking at. Again, if your loved one likes to travel, getting them maybe like a map book or a map of the places they enjoy traveling, or specifically like their hometown or their home state, and going through that with them. A record player doesn't have to be a record player. I just put this in here because, that they can reminisce with that, and that might bring them back to older times. But anything that plays music, whether it be a speaker or a CD player or whatever you think they might like, anything music related in general, you can't go wrong with that. Down here, I have two puzzles. Puzzles can be hit or miss with dementia. If you get them like a complicated puzzle that has like 100 different pieces, people might give someone that and say they don't enjoy puzzles, but in reality, it's just too many pieces and too overwhelming for them. So there are lots of different dementia-friendly puzzles that you can find online. So something just simple, consider, just like 10 to 20 pieces like this flower one. This lily pond one from the brand Relish, you can find that on Amazon, but Relish has a lot of great dementia-friendly puzzles and some other activities as well that I recommend you check out. I also included a picture of the Alzheimer's store right here. This is, again, another resource website that sells all sorts of different products and gift ideas and activities. So I really recommend going to their website and checking them out and seeing if there's anything there that you think your loved one might like. In the bottom right corner here, I have, this is kind of a picture of a craft, and it's a jar filled with 100 things I love about you. So maybe just having a simple craft for them that shows them that you're thinking of them and that you love them. Obviously, 100 things might be a little overwhelming for someone with dementia, so maybe just a jar with 20 things I love about you, or writing down a cute scrapbook, all the things I love about you, just a simple reminder that you can make for them. One more page of a few more things. Walker bags or wheelchair bags to help decorate their walkers. This can help them identify their walkers if they're having trouble with remembering to use it. And also it's just nice to have to be able to put things in as well. This is a brand of shoes called Kizik, K-I-Z-I-K. And they are shoes that the back doesn't fold down when you push your foot in, so you don't have to use your hands or your fingers at all to put your shoes on. You literally just slide your foot right in. And so I think that's a really great recommendation if someone has trouble with putting their shoes on. And they have all sorts of different cute styles and whatnot. A bird feeder, you can never go wrong with bird feeders or things to go in their yard or to help encourage, them being out in nature and enjoying nature. This is a Joy for All pet in the top left. So it's Joy for All is the company, and it's a robotic pet that will meow and move, and your loved one can sit and pet it. I think that these are really great robotic pets. And I would always consider giving that to someone with dementia, even if you think they're at a point to where, you think, oh, your loved one definitely will not think that that's real, or, might be too childlike or underneath them. I've seen firsthand how much it can comfort someone with dementia, even if they know it's not real. Even just looking at it, being like, "Wow, this is so pretty, and this is mine." And, it really can provide such a source of comfort. So just don't knock it till you try it. And then in the same vein, something like a lifelike baby doll. Again, there are several different types online, and from not realistic to incredibly realistic. So if your loved one has always been nurturing and has loved children, this can also be a great source of comfort for them and an activity for them. And then these last few over here are all technology related. So getting them something like a motion censored night light, indoor cameras or outdoor cameras for them, motion censored cameras, a RAS mobility phone. This is a dementia friendly phone where you can control from your phone what theirs looks like. You can control who's calling them or who they can call. You can simplify the screen to make it easy for them. It's a really great phone. And then this last one is Jubilee TV, which is a dementia-friendly TV, basically, that you can also control. Similar to the RAS phone, you can control it from your phone. And so you can control what's on their TV screen, and you can talk to them through it, and they have a lot of dementia-friendly programming on it as well. So those are just a few ideas. I could go on and on, but here are just maybe a few to get your wheels turning. So that is all that I have for y'all this month. Next month, we'll be talking about different types and causes of dementia with Amy House. What is the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's? What are the 4 most common types of dementia, and how do they differ? And can certain diseases be confirmed with new testing and imaging? So that will be next month, New Year in January, the first Thursday of the month at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So with that, I will open up the chat, and let's see if we have any questions. Looks like Nichelle said, we put up the Christmas tree over the weekend. Mom with dementia keeps wanting to take the ornaments off the tree. Any ideas on why this is and tips to help her? I wonder if maybe just because the tree is something new in her environment, or maybe something about her not liking the decorations. So, or maybe wanting some for herself. I had one lady at the memory care I worked at that anytime she saw something new and pretty or new decorations, she would take them off and take them for herself because she liked them. So maybe providing her with decorations of her own or something that's similar that she can kind of plunder through as well.
I would also say for that, maybe let her take them down and put them back up again together.
Yeah.
You know, if she was open to that, and just do it as many times as you need to.
And we hope to see you at next month's webinar, and happy holidays to everyone.